Hello everyone! So good to be here on Sunday. White-pilled as usual. No black pills on the stream. How are you all doing? Let me see how many people are on the stream. Hopefully more will join soon, but... How's your Sunday going? How's the Lord's Day? How's the day of rest? Hope you've all gotten the chance to go to church, although it's pretty difficult these days to do so. But I wanted to, just before everyone's, gathering together. I hope the music in the background isn't too loud. Tell me if I need to change the sound balance a bit. This is a painting by a Russian 19th century painter, probably the best known Russian painter from that period, and that's Ilya Repin. And this is a painting called The Raising of Jairus' Daughter. Jesus is resurrecting a girl. I've seen this painting actually when I was in usually most of the paintings of Repin are residing in Moscow in the Tretyakov gallery, but this one I was lucky enough to actually see myself. When when I was in St. Petersburg. I was really lucky there. Also, speaking of paintings which I got to see recently, the biggest gallery in the United Kingdom, I don't know if it's the biggest, it probably is the National Gallery. And so, it's in central London. I was there with a friend of mine semi-recently, a month or two ago maybe. And so what we had there was a Raphael exhibition, which I quite enjoyed, honestly. There's a lot of paintings there and also sketches. I really enjoy. I don't know, there's something about sketches, There's something about an unfinished work. Maybe not even an unfinished work. There's something about the form without the color. This is this is why I enjoy sculpture so much. Just pure form. You get to enjoy the silhouettes. You get to enjoy the purity of form. The color I find is a bit distracting. I'm not saying, I'm not saying that, I'm dissing all the paintings because they're all the canvas and stuff like that because there's paint on it. Pretty sure you know what I mean. So yeah, and it was a good day. It wasn't like a huge gallery. I mean, not a gallery. It wasn't like a huge exhibition. Probably, I don't know, spent an hour there. An hour and a half maybe. We got there quite late. We barely made it anyway. Kind of had to do it. But yeah, there's so many paintings there. There was one level full of Raphael, and as I'm sure most of you know, that a lot of those paintings during the Renaissance period, they were, of course, commissioned by the papacy. So you got the Catholic Church to thank for that. Unstable sound. Let me just quickly try to. Okay, how's that? Maybe that should be better. But in any case, yeah. So this is quite a beautiful painting. I find there's something about Jesus in this painting that. It's somber, and at the same time it's quite hopeful and powerful. Here is something you're faced by death, the death of a young girl, and you can see that. Maybe you can't on the stream, but if you look up the painting and you zoom in, you'll see that these people are amazed in the background. They're amazed at what Jesus is able to do, at his powers, at the miracles. And it's interesting the kind of the contrast between light and dark in this image. Jesus is resurrecting the girl and bringing her back to life, and right above her there are these lights, these bright lights shining above her. I find it quite fascinating, this image. But yeah, so let's see who's in the chat. Topic Sentence, GG Hacks, Titus, hey everyone, I hope... Oh, Marcus P, good to see you, Marcus, how are you doing? I hope the sound is better. And Titus, if you were the one who was telling me about the the unstable sound. Is it better now? Yeah, so what I wanted to do is just like a welcome stream. Randomly, you know, obviously we're not going to go over now and take Constantinople, but eventually that's the goal. That is the goal. You know what, Sunday is really difficult for me because I'm probably definitely on the more conservative side of Catholicism, even traditional Catholicism. And what I have to say is that I'm quite confused. I'm confused because the time itself is insanely confusing. You know, the changes that are brought about within the church in 1965, just totally, you know, and as they were rolling out, it wasn't like obviously a one done deal, but as the changes were rolling out over the last decade, it's just unbearable. It's modernist communist takeover of the church. And so what you had in response to Vatican II is what is often referred to as the Traditionalist or the Lefebvrist movement, named after Archbishop Lefebvre. And actually, Bishop Williamson, with whom I did the interview on the channel, he was consecrated as bishop by Archbishop Williamson. Oh, sorry, Archbishop Lefebvre. And those consecrations were pretty controversial, of course, back in the day. That got Archbishop Lefebvre excommunicated, quote-unquote excommunicated by, you know, the pretenders, those who pretend to be the Catholic Church. Later on, the 4 people who were consecrated by the Archbishop were actually, their excommunications were lifted. But those are, if you're interested in the organization, it's called the SSPX. I'm sure if you guys are into religion at all or Catholicism and you've looked into it, you've heard of the SSPX. And look, there is some, obviously as with every movement, every organization, every political matter event, you have to look at it in a balance, right? You have to look at it relatively and kind of extract all the useful things that you can out of it, but also don't fall into fanaticism. I feel like the SSPX does fall into fanaticism a bit. They do rely on, you know, it's a bit like okay, I'm gonna diss on the Protestants now slightly, but this is not the stream. This is not the stream where we take Protestantism apart, okay? But this is like for the Protestant, you know, you've got your Luthers, your Calvins, you know, really the man behind the religion. And with the SSPX, it's a bit like that. You know, they see Archbishop Lefebvre as a very strong figure, as like a leader, almost Pope-like figure. So, you know, it can slip into that kind of fanaticism sometimes, but it's not to say that it has totally. It's, you know, if any of you are interested in the SSPX, I've actually went to their masses, although I have to travel quite far away. There aren't any masses, any Latin masses done by the SSPX right next to me in my city. I have to travel out. I have to take the train for like 20 minutes just to get to a mass on Sunday. Imagine. And but the thing is, now I'm kind of in this rabbit hole. I'm trying to figure out, can I actually go to those masses? Because even though the SSPX are, you know, are traditionalists, let's say, they're definitely far more traditional than, I don't know, the Vatican II, let's say, you know, the mainstream papacy, the mainstream church. I would say that they are, they're not perfect. They still have some heresies they adhere to, and the weirdest thing about them is this idea of how they need to obey the Pope, and they recognize the Pope. So Pope Francis, for example, or all the other popes since 1965, they recognize them, but somehow they resist them. It's known within the traditionalist circles as the recognize and resist position, the R and R position. And I don't want to spend the whole stream on this. I just wanted to mention it in passing, but it's unsustainable. You know, you're trying to promote a religion, a traditionalist religion, which has a strong center of authority, which is the papacy, and at the same time you're just dissing the papacy. You are, you know, you're recognizing the papacy, and you're recognizing the man who you need to obey, but you don't obey him, and there are these like weird reasons for it, right? Like random weird reasons for it, which I'm not going to get into in this stream, but it's just a bit strange. And the reason why why I'm getting into this rabbit hole is because where do you get the sacraments? You know, the Catholic life is a sacramental life. The Catholic Church, one of the ways to describe it, and what the Catholic Church is a unity of sacraments. So any church that matches the Catholic Church, you know, in its sacraments, may be considered unified with the Catholic Church. You know, don't quote me on this. This is just a rough outline, right? But unity of sacraments is one of the ways to describe the Catholic Church. And since the sacraments are just an essential part of a life, of Christian life, you know, proper Christian life, and especially the Mass of all ages, or the sacrament of the Eucharist, is really important, and it's central to the Catholic faith. It is not necessary for salvation, but it is still the center of the life of the faith. And so it really is difficult to see that there aren't really any masses you can go to, which, or it seems to be that way anyway, without falling into sin, without falling into idolatry and mockery of the faith, without, you know, encountering these LARPing so-called traditionalists, who will call themselves traditionalists, but they, you know, if any of you are, and by the way, I implore you to follow me on Telegram chat. If you're here, you probably do follow me already, but if you don't, please do. And there I you know, post things from time to time, usually daily. And I spoke about this. I think my last post, the one before last, was exactly about that. It was about the new counterculture, right? The counterculture of not punks anymore, like the 70s. It's not punks, okay? That's cool to be anti-culture. Now, to be counterculture is to be traditionalists, and this is where we have to be really, really careful about people who try to purport to be traditionalists, who want to lead a more traditional life, both in terms of nation, family, religion. We need to stop before it kind of devolves into just LARPing, right, and showing off. Pharisee-like behavior, you know. Look at my rituals, look at my knowledge of Latin, look at all this gold that I have. That doesn't make the faith, okay? If you don't have any of that, as I said in my Telegram post, if you don't have any of it, if you have any of it and you don't have the faith, you're doomed. So no amount of LARPing is going to save you before God. You know, that's what the people who hate us, you know the kind of people I'm talking about. These people do a lot of LARPing in their religion. I've brought this up before privately. Is in their religion, basically it's by tradition it's forbidden. Or you have to cover women's hair. It's forbidden for women to show their hair. Yes. So obviously, you know how other religions do it, how Christianity does it. Islam, they cover the hair, right? They cover the hair of the women. So that sounds natural. So it makes sense, right? What these people do is shave their heads and then wear a wig, as though, you know, and try to pretend that it's their real hair. This is a mockery of God, you know, if you think that the law of God, supposedly, and that's not to say that that law is just and it ought to be followed, but if you want to follow the law, if the law of God tells you to do something and you try to kind of trick him out, ha, gotcha, you're not gonna get to heaven, okay? It's not gonna happen. It's just hilarious, and it's slightly farcical a bit. It's the same thing with a friend of mine. When I was talking to him, he pointed out, you know, the legalism of, for example, Islam, where like you pray however many times a day at this particular time, and that means you'll go to heaven, you know, and if you don't pray, you don't go to heaven, you know, that kind of stuff. It's just like, okay, yeah, Christianity is not doing that. Unless, of course, Christianity has important rituals and sacraments, which are a matter of matter and form, which we can talk about on other streams or here if you'd like to ask a question. And there's matter and there's form, there's proper ritual, and that's all good. But if you don't have the faith, If you don't have the faith, then you're doomed. There's nothing you can do. So yeah, how's everyone doing? How's your Sunday? Marcus P's doing some chores, I see. Okay. Okay, we got a chat from a good friend, Topic Sentence. Got a super chat. Thank you very much for sending in your support. Isn't the consequence of sedevacantism a Protestant ecclesiology, i.e., the universal church is the community of the baptized who profess the true faith without a pope or bishops, since there are none? Well, yeah, this is a bit of probably too deep of a. I don't want to go into a theological rant on a welcome stream, but effectively, the reason you are wrong on that is because it's Catholic teaching that the church is a community of baptized who profess the true faith. That's just Catholic teaching. And without pope or bishops, well, there are bishops. So, for example, there are valid lines. For example, the Archbishop Lefebvre line, the bishops that were consecrated by him, are a legitimate line. Also, if you can look up Archbishop Took, this is a very fascinating story with him. I believe he was the Archbishop of Vietnam, and the kind of insane stuff that was going on with him is crazy. But his line of bishops are also legitimate, so it's not fair to say that there aren't any bishops if you hold to a sedevacantist position. So no, it's not a Protestant ecclesiology. There's a concept in Catholicism that, and this is where you need some nuance, where if at least you appear to be trying to do what the Catholic Church tries to do. So take the SSPX, for example. If you go to their masses, and you didn't know the history behind it all, they are just Catholic masses. And the vast majority of teachings that they adhere to and promulgate are proper Catholic teachings. So it's quite, There is nuance there. Obviously, there's the tug of war between LARPing and proper Catholicism. Yeah, but thanks for the super chat. Anyway, that's actually was something I wanted to talk to, which is connected to this idea. And exactly as Topic Sentence says, this is called the difference between validity and laicity, and this is a very important issue. What I'm studying right now is the Great Western Schism, which I'll do a video on soon, probably, or a Telegram post, which was schism maybe is a bit of a, maybe too strong of a word. Maybe it was like a big disagreement, a falling out. The reason why schism may not be proper to use in this scenario is because it's not really comparable to the Eastern Schism, the Great East-West Schism. It's not really comparable to that. So it's a 14th century schism where bishops residing in Avignon in France and bishops residing in Rome basically chose their own popes, and there was disagreement over who the pope was, and that lasted for about 40 years or something, so for quite a long time. And at some point there's the Pisan line, so there's a third claimant to the papacy, and it just got very complicated. And I think that event is going to be very helpful for us in terms of illuminating our current situation. How are we supposed to behave? What are we supposed to do in this current situation? And the reason why I say this is because, for example, after the Great Western Schism, literally nobody in the church called into question the validity of the sacraments performed by priests and bishops that derived their authority and sometimes even their office, literally, that were consecrated by the anti-popes. So even though, of course, they weren't under the authority of the Roman pontiff, a true, real Roman pontiff, even though they were under authority of the impostor, and these bishops were proclaiming so, and the priests were proclaiming so, that didn't stop the sacraments from being valid. And so this is actually very important to look at if we want to see, where can Catholics find sacraments these days. Another important Another important event in history that can also help us there is the Elizabethan Schism. So, when the papacy excommunicated Queen Elizabeth I of England, and what happened there was actually in typical Anglo style here, Anglo freedom style, they basically forced people to go to the new reformed heretical masses that they had, or services, or whatever, the Anglican services, under the pain of great fines. So if you don't go, if you don't attend, you're going to be fined, extraordinary amounts. So basically, it amounts to you have to go. The guns on your head. You have to go, and as a result of that, there's lots of kind of theology and nuance and church history when it comes to dealing with issues of sacraments in cases like this. And actually, I would pose that the Elizabethan issue is even closer to what we have now than something like the Great Western Schism, even though they both have some lessons we can draw. So yeah, I mean, what else? I wanted to maybe take a look at some news whilst I'm here. This is the thing, right? Sometimes you just gotta go. You gotta go on the news site and see what they're telling you. What is the propaganda telling us? Let's take a look. Okay, here we go. So I'm on the BBC. I'm on the propaganda page, guys. Okay, if you want to see what the CNN of Britain looks like, okay, this is it. This is it. This is the CNN of England. Okay, so what do we got? The top story is the former British soldier dies fighting for Ukraine, which is just fantastic, isn't it? I mean, that's exactly what we need. We need war, and I'm sure you've heard somewhere, if you're a fan, you've heard my take on the Ukraine war, but probably I've discussed this with Rams Paul, but obviously it's cringe. It's basically global homo against Putin. This is what it is. It's the global homo American empire trying to exert its gay influence on basically the rest of the world, and now they've already come for Ukraine, because obviously there's this revolution that they sponsored back in 2014, and now we're at war because for these people there's no backing down. You can just, at some point you can say, okay, look guys, there's a real risk of nuclear war, and there's so much suffering, and we can't really properly commit. So if we do properly commit, then there's going to be nuclear war. Everyone's going to die. If we don't properly commit, well, then Ukraine is not going to win. So it's just, it's rough. It's brother wars. I don't want to see this war, even though I support Russian ends in this war. I don't support that war in general, or brother wars in general. I know it's not like a hot take, but it's sad. It's sad to see, because truly Europe is united by culture, by fundamental culture. Of course, there are differences. There are many differences between European countries, but the Christian core, the Hellenic Christian core is there. We're not supposed to fight each other, and maybe you've heard me say this before, but Napoleon said this, and I'm not a big fan of everything Napoleon did. Of course, in many respects, he brought about this modern age that we live from. From him start the nationalism, arguably the all these European wars of backstabbing, and ultimately, from Napoleon to World War I, it's not that long of a journey. It's not that long of a stretch from Napoleon to World War I. But that's, once again, a topic for another day. And so what he said, though, is that every European war is a civil war, and to an extent he's correct. And see, this is this cringe take that I see a lot of even the Brits do. So as you know, we went through Brexit a couple of years back. I mean, I don't really know. Nobody's talking about Brexit anymore. I don't know if it's complete. I don't know if we're in or out. It's just confusing at this point. If I had to guess, what's really up with Brexit is that we are, out nominally, but we still have a lot of ties with the EU. Maybe we're not under their courts anymore. I don't think we are, so that's good at least. But we're not probably fully independent yet either. Well, we can't be fully independent because You know, we're signed up to all these other things like NATO and American dominance and so on and so forth, which is just, yeah, that's. Huh. I said no black pills, but here we go. This is just the world, eh? And now, so these, I mean, I don't really know what to call these people. Mercenaries? Do you think it's fair to call them mercenaries? You know, people from other countries that are just, you know, go to Ukraine to fight a war. Yeah, it does just, they do smell like mercenaries to me. And that's what the Russians have been calling them. That's what the Russians have been basically judging them for. They're saying, look guys, you know, these people are coming in, they're mercenaries, we're going to, you know, imprison them. Oh, and execute them, by the way. I don't know if you've heard, guys, but I don't know if it's going to recommend a story here for me, but effectively, I think the Russian allied forces, so the Donbass forces, they basically caught these two also who are also British. One of them is just one of them. One of them looks just straight up retarded, like low IQ. Is this the kind of people that... I guess these are the kind of people whom propaganda attracts, right? I mean, if you look at these people, it's just... Yeah, there isn't much there in the head, I don't think. But in any case, and they've sentenced them to execution. Now that, of course, that sounds horrible, and that sounds loud, and etc. But obviously it's a political move. So what they're trying to do, they're saying, okay, we've sentenced them to be executed, but we're going to postpone the execution until date X. You know, who never knows when that's going to happen, and they're probably going to use it as like a little political bargaining chip, basically, which is fine. It's just a matter of, you know, why are Brits going to Ukraine to die for Zelensky and Biden? It just doesn't make any sense to me. And this is once again another former British soldier, Jordan Gatley, killed in fighting. There we go. So this is the result, and you know, this is the take. The take is that if they go strictly for pay, they're mercenaries. If they're ideological, maybe they're just meddlers and somebody. Yeah, I mean, but I think it's a bit of a blurred line, you see, because if you sit there and you're subscribed to all these state-sponsored ideologies, you watch CNN, you watch the BBC, you know, you're one of those normies, you read the Daily Mail, the New York Times, the Washington Post, and you know, you get these ideas into your head, and then you go, okay, I'm going to fight for this regime, for Biden and for Zelensky. I mean, I don't know. It's maybe it's not correct to call them mercenaries, but they are receiving aid. I'm pretty sure they are receiving aid. At least some of them. I mean, they're being armed by the Ukrainians. So is that not aid? You know, they're literally arming them. You know, they're inviting people in and arming them. So I don't know. It doesn't matter anyway. It's cringe in either case. You know, whether you want to go with the semantics of mercenaries or not. Russians think so. So there you are, you know, but the take is, oh, look at this, it's so horrible, the Russians are killing Brits, it's so relevant for us. Yeah, but once again, as I said, this is just brainwashed 60 IQ, you know, individuals, if we can call them that, just going there and dying for this. It's 100% their fault, but obviously the global homo is going to milk it for all the propaganda, you know, oh, the atrocity, oh, the tragedy. Don't you care? Don't you Brits care about British people dying in Ukraine? You see, it's relevant to all of us, isn't it? It's not just a local. It's not a military operation. It's a world war. You see, Russia is like Hitler, isn't it? What a joke! What an absolute joke! And you see, of course, I mean, this is the telling stuff, right? Is that what are the most important categories here? You've got home, okay, self-explanatory. War in Ukraine, oh yeah, that's very important, that's relevant. Coronavirus, but then climate. You see, climate. This is like a whole chapter. This is almost as if this is more important than world news, business, politics. This is more important than anything. You see, it's the climate. The climate alarmism is going nowhere, guys. If you think that, you know, coronavirus, war in Ukraine, of course they're the headlines right now, but. This climate alarmism, this Pachamama Gaia worshipping isn't going anywhere either. And so, I just want to see if definitely some Americans in the chat. How are your gas prices, by the way? How is that going? I've heard something like ever since Biden took over that your gas prices have just skyrocketed. That you're paying like literally double or even more than what you were paying before Biden and before the war, before all the whatever banning on fracking or whatever they did. Before the Green New Deal has started being adopted effectively. What have we got as far as the UK goes? Because recently we've had a vote of confidence in our parliament, and that meant basically, I'm going to give you a quick breakdown. Is that the British Parliament, of course, consists of one side government benches and one side opposition benches. So the governing party right now is the Conservative Party, once again, Conservative, yes? The Conservative Party and the leader of the party is Boris Johnson, and that makes him automatically Prime Minister because the Conservative Party holds a majority in Parliament. And recently, obviously after, he's just been getting in hot water, with these people for a long time now. And I'm not really defending him or anything. So he broke the COVID rules. That was a big. They call it Partygate. What was it? Was it in 2020? I believe there have been images that surfaced that said that in 2020, he's been seen in a garden in a garden drinking wine with buddies, and they're basically crucified him. The opposition has picked it up, all the newspapers have picked it up, all the coronavirus alarmists picked it up, and they just went with it. And now you're not going to hear the end of it. This is it just shows you that it's all just cynicism. It's all just games and political backstabbing, and it's like they don't actually care about if people get sick. We're not even gonna debate let's just say the truth value of all these COVID claims. YouTube. I'm signed up. I've been quadruple vaccinated. I've signed up for a 5th booster due in a couple of months. I'm with you all the way. So this guy has basically had some, as I said, took part in a wine party with a couple of guys, and. Do you think that these politicians, these liberals, the opposition politicians, even the people within the party who criticize him, they care about this stuff on like a principle level? Of course they don't. They couldn't give a shit, okay? All they care about is, okay, this is going to be, the opposition says, okay, this is going to be something we're going to bash him with for the rest of his premiership, and the people within the party who dislike him, who want him gone, who want to put forward his own their own candidacy for minister, they're going to also propagate this so-called scandal. And so what happened was that the 1922 Commission, which is a parliamentary committee made up of backbenchers, they have received enough secret letters to trigger what is called a vote of confidence. And so basically the Prime Minister at that point needs to get more than half the votes of the parliamentary party in order to stay as Prime Minister. If he doesn't, then obviously he ceases to become Prime Minister, and the Conservative Party has a new vote. It needs to vote in a new leader who will automatically once again become Prime Minister. Well, he did survive it. Let me pull up the... there we go, vote of confidence. Let me pull up the page, actually, here. You see the Boris Johnson's Chad face there? Oh, this is just video, isn't it? Okay. Let me pull up an article. What? I want to look at the vote of confidence. And the second thing that comes up against this after this BBC special video is 5 steps to sexual confidence. Okay, this is step 5, the pleasure. This is the world that we live in, guys. Okay, literally impossible to avoid porn. Okay, literally impossible to avoid vulgarity, to avoid disgusting vulgarity. This is the kind of world we live in. Vote of... Okay, maybe I'm just a boomer. Coronavirus update, whatever. So, in any case, so he did survive. I believe he received, I believe the number of people voted against him was like 41% of the party, which is quite a lot. I mean, imagine your party having, almost half of the people in your party not having confidence in you and basically try as hard as possible to screw you up. I don't know the political state of it right now. I'm not sure if how successful the reconciliation attempts have been, because after these controversial votes, after the Brexit vote, after Boris Johnson's victory back in the general election, after votes of no confidence, the Conservatives, everyone just comes out and always says, look, okay, I know this has been controversial, but now it's time to get together. It's time to get together and actually do what the country wants. Actually do what matters. Do what truly matters. Get on with our agenda and fix the country. This is what they always say. I'm not sure how successful that diplomacy has been within the Conservative Party. I don't think so. I think from the very beginning, there were people who jumped on the Boris Johnson bandwagon within the Conservative Party because he was very effective. I mean, the general election was in 2019. I don't know. I can't remember. I think I'm pretty sure it was in 2019. That general election was a landslide. It was a slaughter of the Labour Party. The Conservatives have received a majority, and not just a majority, but a foothold in places like these old mining towns, which are traditionally Labour, that they've never had since Thatcher. It's really something astonishing, and people, even though those who were deep down, within the party, really disliked Boris Johnson. They still jumped on and they pledged because they saw how effective he was. He saw that he perhaps have breathed a new life into the Conservative Party. And yeah, exactly, topic sentence. The whole point of that was the slogan under which he won was "Get Brexit done." And he was just hammering it. But the thing is that a lot of the Conservatives within the party aren't Brexiteers. They hated Brexit. Okay? And they didn't unhate Brexit. Let me tell you that right now. They didn't. And so they hated Boris Johnson, but they pretended they didn't because it was so successful. He was so successful. And now that everyone's a bit tired of him after COVID, after Partygate, after all these, supposed atrocities he's committed, it's just everyone is tired with the facade. Okay, now they're actually saying, okay, right, so now it's time to poke him a bit. It's time to see if we can get in. It's time to see if we can propose a different candidacy for premiership and get away with it. This is what's happening right now. And so I don't think we're going to have the same unity within the Conservative Party. Basically, for the duration of the premiership of Boris Johnson. I really don't. And I really don't know how the next general election is going to go. Because, and let's be honest here, right? After COVID, if you're a president or if you're a head of state or head of government during COVID, it's a bit difficult to get people to like your term. Let's be real here, right? Some people will be angry at you because you didn't do enough. Other people will be angry at you because you did anything. Obviously, I'll be in the latter camp. Thank you very much. They've destroyed the economy, and then they blame COVID for it. No, COVID is not to blame for the destruction of the economy. Your choices that you made, the legislation that you've passed, the measures that you've implemented are to blame for the destruction of the economy. And this is very funny because, well, it's funny insofar as it's tragic. But what happened was all the small businesses obviously got absolutely obliterated, for like restaurants and small family stores and stuff like that, groceries. They got absolutely obliterated during COVID because they were forced to close down. And guess what? A lot of them, in order to even stay afloat, guess where they got their money from? The government has basically proposed that they would take loans. They would take loans backed by the government in order to sustain their business. So what happened is the government destroyed all the small businesses, and those that it didn't destroy, and even those that it did destroy, it basically enslaved, for lack of a better word, enslaved via debt, via usury. It's tragic what's going on, okay? And people are complacent. They're all happy. Lots of British people, I think, because they're naturally submissive and trusting of authority. Which is a bit. This is the one thing that Americans get is that skepticism. I like the skepticism, that Americans have, the natural skepticism of power. This is something that the Brits need to really learn, I think. But yeah, so they signed them up with debt, and I don't know if I was watching a program semi-recently. And I remember that, and it was an old program, so that was like, 2010 or something, 2012, I don't know how bad it is now, I bet it's even worse, but half of businesses, at any given point, or half of pubs specifically, half of pubs within the UK, close every month, and, another half opens, something ridiculous like that. It's probably not true, but I wouldn't put it past them. I wouldn't put it past that so many businesses are closing on a monthly basis. New ones are being reopened just to close down after a couple of months. The vast majority of businesses and people, especially people, are indebted. This is kind of what the whole system is about. The whole system is about bringing you into crippling debt. And then saying, "Oh, there's a solution for this. Just sign your freedoms away for here. Sign your soul away to the devil here. Sign in blood, and it's all going to be good. We'll give you some UBI, okay? We'll give you some UBI for some food, and you just stay in your little pod and you eat your little bugs, and it's all going to be great. You don't need Christianity. You don't need to work. You don't need." And to raise a family, no. Once again, live in your pod, and also if you have any sons, castrate them and turn them into girls. Yep. There you are. So how are we doing? How are we doing in the with the old viewers? How many have we got? Got 10 viewers. Nice. Hi everyone. Once again. I'd like to welcome those who have come onto the stream. You look at these big streamers, right? And they've got like thousands of viewers, like 2,000, 10,000. I'm doing this as a hobby. I don't really, follow the trends. If I did, I would have, been releasing 3 videos a day and kind of chasing every news headline. This is kind of like a hobby for me, and I've really liked kind of the little. I think the first 10, 100, 200, 500 subscribers, that initial community is probably going to be the most wholesome. There's 10 viewers, there's 100 viewers on your first streams. Those are going to be the most wholesome moments. And I don't know if you guys, let me know in chat. Speaking of streamers, there's this thing. I don't know if you've seen my, once again, Telegram link in the description. I don't know if you've seen my a breakdown of the America First issue. And that is the recent drama in America First. Honestly, I'm just so tired of it. I'm so done with that. People do not know what they're talking about. These people, once again, who attack Nick for random stuff like his random associations, or that he's being mean to women, and it's just all of these issues are just so secondary. Well, the women issue is not secondary. What I meant is, the fact that he uses mean words when he talks about women, that's totally secondary. That's cringe. If you criticize him for that, that's cringe, and that, I think that's just that's a symptom of the effeminate society that we've created. If people talk like men, if they talk assertively, if they make strong statements, they need to be struck down. You need to be nice to people. Jesus was nice. You need to be nice. No! Jesus said, if you don't do this, you'll go to hell, okay? This is Jesus Christ. He went to the marketplace, also known as the temple, and he just ravaged it, destroyed it, turned tables over. This is Jesus. Okay? He brings the sword. So this hippie Christianity needs to end. Officially, we are ending on the stream. We're ending hippie Christianity. Hippie Christianity has to end. Real traditional Christianity has to take over. And honestly, and so you've got all these issues on one side, right? Ralph is doing this, Beerton is doing that, Baked is doing that. I don't watch them, and they're doing a separate thing to America First, even though of course they're on Cozy. And so I see that. I see people complaining about that. But the same people will never mention how these same people, they do rosary streams, like every night or every second night. They do rosary marches. All of that, all of the abortion stuff. That's the abortion conflict that has heated up recently. It's no one talks about the response, and the response from AF and the adjacents were to go to the marches and pray the rosary and basically try to exile these demons. This is what they are. They're demons, Satan's spawn, using crucifixes. Crucifix in one hand, rosary in the other hand, praying. No one talks about that. Because the criticisms aren't genuine. You can't really pose genuine criticisms when it comes to politics, when it comes to faith. We all know that AF is on the right track. We all know that what they're talking about. They're talking about race relations. They're talking about the disadvantage that whites face. They're talking about the disadvantage that men face in our society. They're talking about the lack of faith. They're talking about Catholicism. This is important stuff. This is the stuff, and they talk about the issue as well. They talk about those people that hate us. So they do important things, and obviously the leader Nicolas J. Fuentes, he's a smart guy. So I just really don't get these mediocre people complaining. I really do not. I think as I said in my Telegram post, contribute something useful. I will listen to you, and we can talk about differences in political in a political point, in a interpretation of a historical event, on a matter of faith. We can talk about that. Those are important matters. But don't you tell me how we're being mean to women. I'm past that. Let's not. We're not gonna waste time talking about rhetoric and how you're too mean to women. Because, honestly, Paul is on our side, St. Paul is on our side, St. Thomas Aquinas is on our side, Aristotle is on our side, and who's on the side of the simps? Vosh? Okay, yeah. In any case. Oh, Andre Roswell, hello, how are you? Welcome to the stream, welcome to the chat. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, so what do we got in the old US? We've talked about the UK. We've talked about all these some matters of faith. Let's take a look at what's happening in the US. Wait, hold on. US and Canada. Here we are. Oh, Canada, I guess. Thousands rally across US for stricter gun laws. Oh, okay. Yep. This is something we've got to talk about. This is a very important issue, and obviously I will differ on this issue with a lot of as a European, will differ on this issue probably with the Americans. But I've got a lot to say on this, and a very important topic. And actually, I will agree on many things with Americans. So stay tuned. Don't run away from the stream if you're expecting to hear pacifist, non-gun talk. No, there is going to be none of that here. Okay. But there is going to be some nuanced take on this. Trevor Humphreys, hey, how are you? He asks, how do you put the church forward when the head and hierarchy of the church is absolutely corrupt? How do you change a culture when the church is putting forward the same value? Yeah, I agree, and I would say that, well, my position is that hierarchy isn't the legitimate hierarchy of the church. I hold that the papacy is an anti-papacy. I hold that the vast majority of these bishops are heretics. And we are truly in a situation that seems to be totally hopeless. But I once again, I have to remind you that, for example, during the Great Western Schism, people in that conflict, when there were two claimants to the papacy, three claimants to the papacy, they thought it was hopeless. They thought this is kind of the end of Western Christianity as we knew it. But, by the grace of the Lord, it wasn't. And I think if these aren't the end times, then I think we can survive. We can bring it back. And the way it happens, Trevor, is the same way that the revolution happened within the church, the same way that Vatican II happened, is from the grassroots. Because the thing is, the modernists don't attract priests at all. There is a crisis. There is a crisis in vocations right now within the so-called church, within the Franciscan church. Yes. Nobody wants to be a priest because nobody wants to be like a basically a glorified Protestant minister waving the LGBT flag. Okay, nobody wants to do that. That's not actually the priesthood. There is no Christian virtue in that. There is no real office to that. And so, but the way it happened is that slowly, priests and people of certain political persuasions started to become priests and infiltrate the church from within. And they've basically, 1965 was the culmination of that. They've started, decades before, even maybe a century before, priests who were modernists. Then you had bishops who were modernists. Then you had cardinals, and ultimately, there just has to be something. There just has to be. And there was like a last push. There had to be a last push, and Vatican II was the last push. It was convened for totally plausible matters, guys. If you want to look up, I don't have the link. I should post it when I come to it. But there is a link that contains a lot of the original Vatican II documents, what are supposed to be the things, the real response to modernism and the modern way of life, to post-war way of life from the church, and it was perfectly orthodox. And it was beautiful. It was like Pius X style, okay? But there was, there was kind of a, let's just say, a subversion of Vatican II, and a revolution, a literal revolutionary event within Vatican II. It's really a long issue, and that's something that you can make videos and videos on. But the answer to your question is, once again, since the modernists don't want to be priests, we need to train traditional priests in traditional seminaries, and the way we do that is bring up sons who understand the importance of the faith, who understand that being a priest, a traditional priest, is like one of the highest vocations you can possibly have. One of the high, not like a TikTok influencer. And guess what? Yes, me being a guy who speaks on YouTube and takes interviews on YouTube, the irony is not lost on me. Okay, but in any case, TikTok is not the kind of the highest of vocations. The priestly vocation is sacred, and it's important, okay? So when you have sons who want to become priests, when you have enough of them who have set up and utilize traditional seminaries, when they teach orthodox traditional Christian dogma, when they follow the teaching, it's all going to come from the bottom. It's all going to come from the bottom up at some point, and some of them will be exerting pressure on the church, on the so-called counterfeit church, and at some point there can be a takeover. Once again, the Great Western Schism, what it has shown is that no matter how hopeless it is, and also the Arian controversy as well, no matter how hopeless it is, there's still light. Remember, the gates of hell shall not prevail against the church. But at the same time, as our Lord has said, will I find faith? Will he find faith? Will the Son of Man find faith when he comes back to earth? It's not a guarantee. There will always be at least one person who is Catholic. There must be. But, proper traditional, a proper Christian. But there may only be one, So we were never promised that we would be abundant and dominant all the time. It's like, in fact, we were promised the opposite, that we will be persecuted. They will hate you just like they hated me. Is that not what our Lord has said? But yeah, and as G.G. Hack says, the liturgy has been of us. Absolutely, it has. Absolutely, it has, and we can do videos on that also, showing why the liturgy is just not sufficient anymore for in my view, in my judgment, and I'm pretty sure I think it's clear from the teaching of the Church that the sacraments are actually invalid. The sacrament of the Eucharist, as performed within the new Mass, or whatever communion celebration, whatever Protestant term they use these days, is not sufficient, is not valid in order to consecrate the host. Yeah, so it's really sad. You have a lot of people who just go, who go to so-called Mass and they just worship a piece of bread, which truly is sad. But at the same time, I don't know how much the Lord will, how much mercy the Lord will show, because once again, during the schism, those people who were receiving the Eucharist from priests and bishops under the anti-popes, those hosts were valid. It's called supplied jurisdiction. This concept that when you're in a case of kind of necessity and a case of crisis, and in an unusual situation, there are times when, for example, an excommunicated priest can perform Mass or perform baptism, and they're valid even though they may not be licit. Sacramental theology is a complicated issue, and this is what I'm researching right now in my search for can I go to an SSPX Mass? That's my question. Can I go to an SSPX Mass? Is it valid? Do I think there is? Oh, apologies. Let me just close my Telegram quickly. Yeah. So do I think there is supplied jurisdiction? There is enough. There's enough there to judge that the supplied jurisdiction will be there, and that even though, of course, we're in the state of uncertainty, that these sacraments will be valid. These are very important questions, and unfortunately, not many people are asking them. Asking themselves of what they're doing. Am I just worshiping a piece of bread, or is it Jesus Christ incarnate? Give me a moment, guys. Alright, I'm back. Anyway, just getting my water. Yeah, very important questions. But what was it that I wanted to address anyway? Yeah, so I think I've addressed the Trevor. Does that make sense? We need to build up we need to build up a community of traditionalists, of those who adhere to the real Catholic faith, and exert pressure on the people who claim to be within the Church. And because their faith is fake, it's counterfeit, it's unpopular. The Catholic Church in the West is losing on all grounds. Not enough priests. Nobody's going to masses. It's an inevitability that fake religion is going to collapse, and we're going to be there to pick up the pieces. Really, that's how I see it. Gun laws. Here we go, guys. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at what the BBC is telling us about the situation, shall we? And I guess I will just zoom it in so it's easier if you want to read along. Tens of thousands of protesters have rallied across the US to call for stricter gun laws in the wake of 2 mass shootings. Those taking part in the hundreds of marches carry slogans like, "I want freedom from getting shot." US President Joe Biden backed the protests, and calling on Congress to pass common-sense gun safety legislation. Despite this, any attempt to change the law is likely to be blocked by Republicans. Okay, so that's white pilling. 19 children and 2 adults were killed in the 24th May shooting at Robb Elementary in Texas. Okay, I'm not even going to attempt that. Sorry, guys. Your weird name. This is the thing. If Americans have these, not just weird first names and surnames, but also like weird place names. In any case, that attack and another days earlier in Buffalo, New York, in which 10 people were killed, has led to renewed calls for action on gun control in the US. On Saturday, gun safety group March for Our Lives, and it's always this cringe euphemism, founded by survivors of the 2018 Parkland school shooting in Florida, said some 450 rallies would be held across the country, including Washington, D.C., New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago. The group said it would not let politicians sit back as people continue to die. Oh, hey, Fadista, how are you doing? It's good to see you. And yeah, American place names are often named after local indigenous. I know, that's why they're weird. It doesn't look, they don't cease to be weird all of a sudden, just because they're called after indigenous tribes. I know, I know some American history, okay? I'm not totally ignorant. In any case. But, guys, okay, can we just appreciate what's happening here? So this whole gun issue, it's not an issue of guns. It's not an issue of the right to carry weapons. It's an issue of morality, and also it's an issue on women. Look at this picture and tell me that women aren't supposed to be locked up at home. Who's going to look at this image and tell me that women shouldn't be locked up at home? It's obvious. It's obvious what's happening here. Look at these names. March for Our Lives. It's like gay men, boomers, and gay men, boomers, and women. This is the mainstream American debate. These are the mainstream. These are the warriors of the mainstream that the New World Order uses to basically bash us over the head with. Safety greater than guns, peace greater than guns, kids greater than guns, we matter more. Their future was stolen. It's this purely emotional Americans misspoke there a bit. Purely emotional woman-like behavior. The future was stolen. Protect our kids. Like, how many think of the children? I just want to say, shut the. In any case, let's move away from that image, because otherwise I'll just go insane. In any case, yeah. So how do you solve the problem of mass shootings? How do you solve the problem of mass shootings? Morality. Why do men commit these shootings? Well, first of all, we're going to mention, and we'll try to be YouTube friendly. Okay, first of all, I'm going to say that this is not something groundbreaking, but probably groundbreaking for these, for YouTube. That a lot of gun violence just doesn't happen. It doesn't come from white people. If you wanna just call them that. Let's just say there are white people and non-white people. A lot of that violence just doesn't come from white people. Americans has vastly more liberal gun laws, before the 21st century, before the 1950s, 1940s, 1930s especially. They had far more liberal gun laws. So you're telling me it's about gun laws? It's got nothing to do with gun laws. It's got to do with A, the demographics of the country, which I just mentioned, and B, it has to do with Christian morality. Okay, it was at least America in the past, a century, 2 centuries ago, was at least somewhat a Christian country. Okay, I'm going to, let's just, for the purposes, this is not a debate between Protestantism and Catholicism. Let's just say for the sake of argument that I give you that Protestants are Christians, okay? It was a Christian nation, living by Christian ideals. Some Christian ideals, and it was good. It was fine. It was there were no psycho killers who just basically tried to massacre and gun down people. and then post their what is it? Their manifestos in a local newspaper for John Smith to read. So more liberal gun laws, but somehow we don't get mass shootings. How does that work? God, that's how it works. Unless you get God into people's heads and hearts again, it's over. And no amount of guns, no amount of gun legislation, no amount of crying, no amount of any of that will save you. Will save these people. Will save schools. Will save. And honestly, and this is something that people don't talk about, but it's very important. Save people. Save also these men who commit these crimes from being pushed to do it. And I know it's a controversial take. Obviously, look, I'm gonna say it this way. It's true that the ultimate decision to go and shoot up a school lies with the person who does it. It's true. I'm not denying that. However, it is also important to realize that he doesn't live in a vacuum. We live in a society, okay? So that person lives in a society, and that society has pressures, exerts pressures on him. And so when you have a society where it's basically becoming more and more impossible to just live and breathe every day, where it's impossible to start a family, where it's impossible to buy yourself a home without going into just overwhelming debt, where it's impossible to actually get a respectable job that pays well, a job where you can support your whole family, where one man can support the family with one salary. When you have a country like that, it pushes people to the extreme. It pushes people to despair. It pushes people to violence. I don't think there's anything controversial in that. I don't think it's particularly a hot take, keeping in mind the fact that the ultimate, let's just say, decision lies at the end of the day with the person who pulls the trigger, who goes and decides to pull the trigger. Fadista says, Matthew McConaughey doesn't scold blacks in Chicago for continual shootings. His job is to brainwash the 2A whites. Yep. And it's unfortunate, because I do like Matthew McConaughey as an actor. I know many of you guys, we've spoken about this, we've spoken about True Detective, which is a good show, and even though, look, I know that he isn't like a golden age actor or something, he isn't like a Shakespearean type, not like a theater actor or anything. But, I mean, as far as actors go, relatively speaking, he's quite alright. And I know, once again, that he plays the same character in every film and every show. I like him, but the reality is that the actors in general are stupid. Actors in general are not intellectual people. And there's, unfortunately, the thing that's kind of valued the most, the thing our society is orbiting around is attention, which is, again, such a feminine trait, isn't it? Attention. I want attention. This is a very feminine trait, and so our society kind of orbits around that. And the result is the people with the louder voices are perceived to be somehow the leaders. They perceive to be somehow these moral arbiters, those who know, they made it. They got him. They got that. They were in that movie. Everyone knows their name. They've got a huge Instagram following. Huge, So, and therefore they must be right. I mean, people are saying they're validating them. They're saying they're right. They must be right. And this is where this myth that actors are somehow have any moral or intellectual ground to stand upon is in any way legitimate. That's where it comes from. So I'm not surprised that he's totally wrong on this, even though I do sympathize with him, because he's a fine actor, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. E. Essington, hey, how are you doing? Replying to Felicia says, no way he's going to address the real problem. I mean, I think you mean Matthew McConaughey, right? Not me. Unless there's an angle that I didn't take yet, that I didn't cover yet. When it comes to these mass shootings. But yeah, don't expect anything from these liberals. So, how do you stop gun violence? Thomas's recipe for stopping gun violence: go to church, lock up women. That's it. Problem solved. Problem solved very easily. And if you guys want to, if you have any other topics you want to address, if you have any questions for me, this is kind of a welcome Q&A stream. Those weren't about since the beginning. I welcome you once again to Friends of Aquinas. The welcoming stream under the name of Constantinople will be ours, and it will be. And it will be ours eventually. Maybe not soon, but eventually it will be. So, pop your questions into the chat. I'll address them as best I can. This is, by the way, this is I've just gotten Vivaldi's complete works on in the background. So I think it's quite we need it's cheery, and it's not too intrusive, you know. It's quite relaxing, I find. It's summer. It's summer. So where are you guys going? This is the thing about Americans, is they don't really leave America, do they? It's like, I've heard that having a passport is like this huge thing. It's like, oh, I need to get a passport. Okay, I need to get a passport, and then I could go somewhere. It's like, what? As far as I'm concerned, I've always had a passport. I've always had a passport. How can you not have a passport? But I don't know. Maybe it's just European things. But where would you guys be going? You just kind of go to a different state to chill. Also, I've heard that you don't really have holidays over there in the United States. You just work. That's what I've heard. It's just a big factory. Just work, which is funny because you have no factories. So I don't really know what you do there. Paper pushing, is that right? But yeah, but soon I hopefully in August I'll go to Rome for the second time. I went to Rome back in 2020, just before COVID hit. Literally like 2 months before COVID hit or something. Was it? Oh no, I think that was the year before. No matter, I went to Rome. It was great, apart from the Chinese tourists. Oh man, this is brutal. Okay, this is just brutal. You go anywhere, you go literally anywhere. You go to Switzerland, you go to any of these cultural places, right? Like Rome, Florence, Venice, anywhere, and it's just the Chinese everywhere, just big huge armies, Chinese tourist delegations. You know, it's a bit unnerving, honestly. I just want to be able. This is what you see. Exactly. This is exactly what you see. When you go to any European cultural destination. And the important thing about this image is this photo, is that it shows you that they're all behind cameras. Okay, it's always they never look at the actual thing, right? So let's just say they're in Florence, and they're looking at David by what is it? Not David. What do you call it? I meant to say they're in Venice. They're in St. Mark's, right? And they're looking, and they can't look straight on. They're always looking through the screen. So how does that work? It's like just put the screen away, put the phone away, put the camera away, and just look at the thing. And they're always so numerous. They're always so numerous that you just can't enjoy yourself. You just can't enjoy yourself. And also another thing that you will find in every cultural, let's say, destination in Europe is the gypsy traders. You know, you're there. You're at St. Peter's Square. There's the St. Peter's Basilica. And you're just trying to enjoy, you're on a pilgrimage, you're trying to enjoy your time, and what you get are these people who harass you to buy their newest plastic shitty toy. Oh, sir, would you like to buy a poppet, or would you like to buy this thing that I launch into the air and then it comes back to me? We need authoritarianism, guys. This is the thing. We need someone to just come in and set things straight. Just say, no, that's not acceptable. And this is where the libertarians are going to come in and be like, oh, why, I can't sell on a street. No, you can't, okay? I don't care. I'm not a cringe libertarian. I don't worship the free market. The free market sucks. Okay, the free market sucks. Capitalism sucks. Okay, it was denounced by the Catholic Church. Just as much as communism was. So I'm not interested in these libertarian, capitalist, fourth-stage capitalist arguments. But, what do we got? You're right, I was talking about McConaughey, yep. I kind of figured, but just in case. I already live in a holiday destination, Fadista says. I need to leave to get away from these tourists. Yeah, well, I'm sure you don't have that many Chinese tourists, but you probably could relate to what I was just talking about, at least slightly. Tangentially. E. Essington says we have a service economy with no service. The USA, that is. Yeah, that sounds about right. Fadista has a question. Who will replace Bojo? And topic sentence follows up. Keir Starmer, leader of the Labour Party, will probably eventually be PM. I agree. I think that too many people just are tired of Boris and they hate Boris, and whoever's going to be the leader of the opposition of the Labour Party, the leftists, are going to come in, and it's really going to be something. And the reason is because I can't remember when there was the last Labour government. This is the thing. I'm going to look it up. Last Labour government. 2010? 2010 was the last Labour government, apparently. And so since 2010, for 12 years, we have had either Conservative government or, strangely enough, there was a coalition government between the Democrats and the Conservatives. The Social Democrats and the Lib Dems, the Liberal Democrats, not the Social Democrats. The Liberal Democrats and the Conservatives. See, I don't even remember their their name, because they just disappeared after the last election. They're just gone. I think they still have one seat. They may not even have one seat yet. I think the last woman, which is typical, leader of Lib Dems, was ousted. which is quite funny. Lost her election or something like that. In any case, they're just totally irrelevant. But they were at one time in coalition with the Conservative Party. But then we had Conservatives again and again and again, and we still have Conservatives. And we'll still have Conservatives for another year or two, something like that, before the next general election. So I think with COVID and with Boris Johnson being a controversial figure, him not really delivering on any promises that he has made, it's going to eviscerate him. So he's going to be destroyed, I think. The Conservative Party, unless it can do something dramatic, which is a real shame. Not because I love Boris, but it's because, like, Labour leader Keir Starmer is just like, he is the definition, the exemplar of what it means to be blue-pilled. And supposedly, he's boasting, the way he boasts about his dignity is everyone calls him Sir Keir Starmer. He wants to be called Sir Keir Starmer because obviously he has that, he has that beautiful title, Sir Keir Starmer, and he's sophisticated and he's very smart. And I mean, there's a lot of dignity in the man. He's very dignified, you see. Just a totally like libtard globalist cuck clown. This is who he is. So it's a bit of a shame, because at least the thing about Boris, at least he was funny. Okay, at least Boris was somewhat funny, at least in the way he looked. At least in the way he looked. And obviously he's kind of putting on this clown this clown appearance in order to win elections. I mean, it's funny, you know, you think Americans may think of Brits as these serious, like, smart people, but you know, he's won on basically acting like a clown. But I think people saw that may not have been the best idea. Although he probably was a better choice than someone like Jeremy Corbyn. He was basically the local commie. But yeah, this guy is probably the future English Prime Minister, or British Prime Minister, and it's not going to be pretty. Like, you know, what is going to happen? The first thing that's going to happen when he becomes Prime Minister and stands up is he's going to talk about how many women he has in his ministerial cabinet. Oh, we have more women. I would like to congratulate the House and congratulate the United Kingdom on electing a parliament and electing a party which has by far in its history the most blacks, the most women, the most minorities who are underrepresented in our politics. This is the first thing he's going to say. He's going to crap on white people. He's going to crap on Britons, and he's just going to say, "You're being replaced, mate." Well, congratulations. Finally we got in, and now the real replace. You think under Bojo, you think under the Conservatives you had it bad. Oh, no. Now, your Minister for Health is this black woman, and your Minister of the Interior, Home Secretary, is a Muslim woman. And this and that, and there are no white men. And by the way, guys, I am gay also, so I've come out. I'm the first gay Prime Minister. This is what's going to happen, so... To all the Boris haters, you know, in the conservative, if there even is, like, a radical conservative youth, to all of you guys, you think this is bad, and it's gay, and it's libtard, you've not seen anything yet. This is going to be rough. Okay, topic says, yeah, 2010, yep, I got that. James Smith, hey, James Smith, how are you? Y'all may need to learn Russian, he says. Well, I'm ahead of you in that department. Already know. I've been speaking Russian since I was a kid. Went to a Russian school. So yeah, I'm Russian. So I'm already ahead. And by the way, I was sent in by Putin into the West in order to bring about positive change, in order to save you, because somehow you guys, the Anglos, the Germans, the French, just capitulating. You can't save yourselves. You know, somehow the Russian Tsar needs to, like, get an army of Russians who sounds like Brits and get them to infiltrate the United Kingdom and try to bring about some change by commenting on topics, on political topics, with 12 people in the stream. I love you guys, by the way. This is great. But yeah, this is this is kind of the sadness of your politics, guys. What are you doing? And on the guns situation, okay? On the guns situation. You guys have guns, but you're being replaced. What's happening? I thought the whole thing... So when is the tyrannical thing gonna... So, you know these, what do you call it? These neocon, these constitution worshippers, these piece of paper worshippers, the boomers, they'd be like, "Oh, but my gun rights. But my gun rights. I have the right to carry an AR-15 out in the public, and that is the American way. That is America, son. I want to have a machine gun out in the open, parade to sit in the restaurant, have like every restaurant have like a little cabinet where I store my guns, okay? The first thing you do, you come into an American restaurant, you take your coat off, you hand it to the server, hand it to the lackey, he hangs it up. Second thing you do is give him the gun so that he puts it in the safe and goes. So, okay, you're saying that. That's fine, it's fine. So, is that government not tyrannical enough for you Americans? When is that tyrannical government gonna happen? When is it gonna materialize? You're a minority now in your own country. You've basically got chipped. Triple vaxxed. You've got kids being taught trans what do you call it? You've got kids being taught trans values in when they're since they're what, 8 years old. When is the tyranny gonna happen? When is the tyranny gonna happen? When are you gonna use the guns that you need to use them for? What do you need to use them for then? It's I don't know. It's a bit strange. It's a bit strange, I must say. Not yet, James Smith says. I assume you're referring to me saying that you're now a minority within your own country. Well, ever since, when the boomers die out, it's like ever since, I believe, 2010 or something, the young population, the people who are being born are minority white. So you may have some advantage when it comes to having some reserve of the boomer reserve. The boomer reserve is is keeping your numbers up there. It's like you go from 95% or whatever 100 years ago, 120 years ago, to 90, and then you go to 80 and 70 and 60. It's like, we're fine, guys. It's 60%. We're still the majority. And now within the young generation, you're like less than 50, and it's all going to be basically crashing down, which is a bit sad. But hey, what can you do? What can you do? Trevor says, COVID proved to me that most people in the US will just give up the guns. I agree with you. Fadista says it was extraordinary to see the mass idiocy. There you go. Trevor then says, we are entirely too large. We can't even organize locally, let alone nationally. Yeah, this is interesting, and this is something I want to talk about. Following up the gun conversation, is actually are the ideas of a standing army and the Republican ideas of how the army and the state ought to be organized. Because this is very important. I think I would say I'm a monarchist because I come from a European background, so monarchy is natural to us. No, but it's not to say that we have never done a republic. A lot of Italy for a lot of history was considered of republics, and of course we had the Roman Republic. But what I will say is that the founding fathers were right when they set up a system which denounced standing armies and which basically armed the populace. And that system, what it does is it creates this scenario. You don't have standing armies, therefore the state can't really wage war. It just can't do it. Because there is no army. But when you have a standing army, it's like a dog that you need to walk. Every day you need to walk your dog. And so every couple of years you need to walk your standing army. That's what you have if you have it, because it's just a bunch of people whose profession is to kill people, to kill other people. So a lot of people in the armies are just psychopaths. So how do you defend the country then? How do you get a commitment? How do you raise an army for wars that actually matter? The way you do it is you arm your populace, which is correct. But I think you institute mandatory military service. Mandatory military service, armed militia, armed citizenry that will respond to any real threats that are posed to your country. Simple as that. Every citizen, every man needs to be trained to use a weapon, needs to possess a weapon, needs to be ready to defend his country. But no standing armies. That's how you get all these nation-building wars, and that's how you get this military-industrial complex. This is how you get the people that hate us taking this whole thing over. People who love the country are supposed to be the ones defending the country. And I guess 25 minutes ago on this issue we had an update. It says bipartisan group of US senators agrees limited gun safety measures. Let's take a look. The measures would include support for tougher background checks for buyers under the age of 21 and cracking down on illegal gun purchases. But the measures fall short of President Biden's calls for change. Okay, well. Tens of thousands of protesters rally. Yeah, we've read that before. But apparently there's some bipartisan thing going on there as well. And this just shows you, right? I don't have to tell you this, guys, but the Republicans are not your friends. There are individuals who may be right and who associate themselves with the Republican Party and who may be doing good things. Like, for example, I'm hearing talks of Christian nationalism. That seems to be a new wave, like, and propagated by the likes of Marjorie Taylor Greene. I would support that. I would support that for sure. But the Republicans at large, the Republican Party, the system itself, the structure of the Republican Party itself, is not American. It's being paid off by you-know-whom, and consequently doesn't have your best interests in mind. Why is it that we used to have an aristocracy that actually had the best interests of the country in mind? And whatever the cynics, the cynical atheists, revisionists will tell you, or suppose we are the revisionists of history now because we are now fighting the propaganda, the dominant liberal propaganda in history, it's all confusing. But what these people will do is lie to you and say that everyone, in the past, in medieval times, or just basically in the rest of history, when Christianity was dominant, when Europeans were dominant, basically we're just cynics, okay? They were all just cynics, they were all just... Christianity, they were just pretending, mate. They were just pretending to go to these churches, and they really hated it, and it was all dirty and smelly and horrible and terrible. Nobody was educated. It was the Dark Ages, and then there came the Enlightenment, and so on. It's... So, not all people, not all aristocrats in the past, contrary to this propaganda, were actually like that. And why is it? To a large extent, it was because they shed the same blood, and they shed the same ancestry as the people in their dukedom, in their county, in their bishopric, in their kingdom, in their republic, in their empire. Well, empire is a bit questionable, but hey, you know what I mean. So they actually shed blood, shed common ancestry. Take a look at Ukraine right now. It's being dragged into a brother war by you-know-whom. And you-know-who is the president of Ukraine. And so basically he takes these extreme measures. He makes these extreme moves, like conscripting every single person between the age of like 19 and 60 or something, forbidding them from leaving the country, prolonging the war that he has no chance of winning, that Ukraine has no chance of winning. And basically, in order that he limits the number of dead Ukrainians, he has to fold. He has to recognize that he's lost. But guess what? He doesn't care, because it's not his people. You know whom controls early life check? Hello? Zelensky early life check? Okay, so, he shares nothing with these people, really. So he doesn't care, just sends them by the thousands to die in the Ukraine. Doesn't care if his country gets blown to pieces. Let's see. Essington says, we'll arm Ukraine, but can't keep guns for ourselves. Well, I hope you're happy with your taxation going to the Azov battalion. He also says bipartisan gutless Republicans. Exactly. Oh yeah, this is a good point. Essington, I knew Republicans lost when they started worshipping MLK. Well, precisely. It was, and this is what this is nothing new. We figured this out back in 2016. But it's the slide. We figured out that effectively Republicans are just like 20, if you want to be generous, 30 years behind the Democrats on every issue. This is not new. We've known this. So exactly. So they've started. Yeah. So the Democrats started worshipping. Worshipping MLK, whatever, 40 years ago or something, and now the Republicans. Now it's time for the Republicans to do it. Marcus P says that's inaccurate, Thomas. As one who served, I can tell you the military is a cross-section of the able-bodied demographic. Yeah, I agree with you. I'm not sure which statement specifically I made that contradicts this. James Smith, when will the UK rise up? Never. Don't want to be blackpilling, but... Marcus P. Zelensky is not a brother. Well, precisely, that's exactly what I was talking about. E. Essington says... Juneteenth will have plenty of gunfire in the usual places. My bank is closed for the holiday. Yeah, well. And look at this. And this is, by the way, this article. Families urge immediate help for condemned UK pair. Here we go. So these are the two people I've been talking about who... Jesus. He went to fight in the Ukraine, okay? Let's take a look. Okay. That's the guy, okay. I don't know, like, they show 3 men here, maybe one of them, but in any case. Yeah, look, I mean, I don't want to be rude, but, yeah. So the families of 2 Britons sentenced to death for fighting Russian forces in Ukraine have said they need urgent access to medical and legal help. So look, you shouldn't have gone there. You shouldn't have gone there. And there's some other headline that I want to... Yeah, Putin positions himself... Look at this. Putin and Peter the Great, Russian leader likens himself to 18th century Tsar. Based? Based? This is what we want to see. Look, they think it's somehow... Look, and this is it, right? This worshipping of democracy, everyone sees that it's cringe. F democracy, okay? I'm not interested. We need totalitarianism. We need theocracy. We need these strong leaders back. We need the emperors back. Based? Putin and Peter the Great. Oh, Putin thinks that he's Peter the Great. Putin thinks that he's literally like Stalin. Putin thinks that... Yes, okay, that's great. Fantastic. He is like Peter the Great. He is like Peter the Great. And that's based. And, you know... If you don't think that way, you need to be put in put in jail, basically. That's what I think. Let's just take a look. Let's take a look at what he actually said. I wonder what he actually said. Putin's admiration for Peter the Great is well known, but he now seems to have the ideas of greatness himself. Make Russia great again? Let's go. Okay, so I'm looking for the quote. What's this? You might think he was fighting with Sweden, seizing their lands, Mr. Putin said, referring to the northern wars which Peter launched at the turn of the 18th century as he forged a new Russian empire. But he seized nothing. He reclaimed it, based. Here we go. He said, arguing that Slavs have lived in the area for centuries. Let's go. It seems it has fallen to us too to reclaim our strength. Look at this. This is how a powerful man, an emperor, a politician, a true, real politician, you know, in the style of the 18th, 19th century realpolitik speaks. This is how he speaks. This is how a true leader, emperor speaks, okay? And let's take a look now at how, let's just say, a modern leader speaks, okay? Here we go, boys. Okay, here we go. This is, so Putin be like, I am literally Peter the Great. I'm literally Peter the Great. I'm declaring a new war to reseize Slavic land. Okay? And he's got this grin, he's got this smile. We literally don't care about the gay empire. And this is what he's up against. These are the serious people, okay? Putin, he's insane, didn't you know? He's wrong in the head. He doesn't know what he's talking about. All this fake history. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Real leaders. Here we go.
Chocolate chip. Oh yeah.
What is your message to Republicans who are prepared to block the January 6th commission?
This is real leadership right here, guys. I love the real leadership on display.
North Carolina announced its $100 incentive today. Places that have offered the $100. That'd be really good. I'd go back and get vaccinated 3 times.
Yeah, I'd get vaccinated 3 times if they paid me $100,000 to get vaccinated. I would get vaccinated 500 times if they would pay me in this monopoly currency, $100,000 in monopoly currency. I would get vaccinated, guys. Here's $100. That's in 2 years going to be worth what, half a loaf of bread?
But all kidding aside, offered the $100 to get vaccination, have seen an uptick of 25% in daily vaccination rates. She's also dedicated to getting her customers and employees vaccinated, that when they leave the saloon, the salon, they're maybe going to a saloon, I don't know. I caught part of President Putin's press conference, and he talked about the need for us to be able to have some kind of modus operandi where we dealt with making sure the Arctic was, in fact, a free zone.
Is the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan now inevitable?
No, it is not. Because you have the Afghan troops have 300,000 well-equipped, as well-equipped as any army in the world, and an air force, against something like 75,000 Taliban. It is not inevitable.
It's not inevitable, guys.
Do I trust the Taliban?
It's not inevitable. Remember that.
No. But I trust the capacity of the Afghan military, who is better trained, better equipped, and more competent in terms.
This is the thing, right? Yes, the European leaders of the EU countries like France and Germany, they're all also cringe. Don't get me wrong, but at least they can put together a sentence. Like, at least Boris Johnson has enough brain capacity to enter Parliament and, you know, at least answer questions, you know, on Wednesdays. At least he can do that. This is just nothing. If we were to invite, you know, Biden on the stream, and like I would just ask him questions, he wouldn't be able to answer them. He can only answer, you know, these like pre-scripted questions that he doesn't really need to think about to answer. And when he does, when a question requires just a tiny bit of effort, tiny bit of brain power to actually answer, it's over. It breaks down. Can't put together a sentence. And so, and this just goes to show, right? And I guess I'll be closing the stream because I've been going on for almost 2 hours. And by the way, guys, let me know if you want this to become more of a daily or a bi-daily thing where I just jump on and talk to you guys and we talk about things you want to talk about, and I bring topics up, news, theology, whatever it is. I'm thinking of doing like a daily show, maybe an hour's worth of a daily show. But yeah, but the important thing here to say, and I'm wrapping up, is these people, you know, the Wignat types. Yes, the Wignat types who went on about how we actually need to support Ukraine in this conflict. Okay, Ukrainians, they're the nationalists. They're based. They're fighting for their own country here. They're fighting for a survival of their nation. They're standing up for their nation against the Mongol invaders, against these disgusting Mongol invaders. And oh no, it doesn't matter that they're literally an arm of the global homo. It doesn't matter that that whole Ukrainian identity thing is just a facade. None of that actually matters. But we gotta support Ukraine. How can you do it? So we've got Biden versus Putin. How can you, even on a anthropological level, like on a biological, political level, on a level of charisma, on pretty much any level, how can you support Biden, and how can you support Ukraine? To me, it just doesn't make any sense. Okay, and this is, guys, this is what I'm gonna leave you with, guys. Okay, the beautiful face of Peter the Great being reincarnated in Putin, staring at you the last few minutes of the stream. We're winning. We're so winning. We're so back. And all this stuff is just going to show people how much of a farce our system is. That's all it's going to do. It's going to show how retarded these people are. How our leaders are not impressive. They're not read. They're not educated. They're not genuine. Just crap. They're just crap. Be done and away with them. America still can save itself, of course. Ultimately, we're winning. We're gonna win. The white European man, the Christian man, is going to win. So all these people are going ultimately to hell. That's their ultimate destination. Hell is their ultimate destination. Fadisa says, daily, a couple of times a week, 1 to 2 hours would be good, especially in the broader ideas, empire's history, the real leaders. Yep. Definitely. Thanks. Yeah, I think I'll start doing that. Oswald Spengler predicted this. Haven't heard of him, but I'll check him out and see what he's got. America is lost, Trevor says. Must all come crumbling down before it can be built back better. Lol. Indeed, I agree. There's going to be... It's all going to end violently. I just don't see how it isn't. But guess what? I mean, all the southern boys who are now fighting, laying their lives down needlessly in the Middle East, they'll be the ones fighting on our side, and so haven't got a chance. So have a good rest of the Sunday, guys. Thank you very much for joining. Please, obviously, I said I'm doing this as a hobby, but I also want to grow. So please share the Telegram link, join the Telegram channel, share the Telegram channel with your friends, share the streams, like the streams, and thank you very much for coming. And God bless you all.